Well, welcome everyone to another installment of our Creativebug Daily Challenge, Creativebugging Daily. And this month's challenge was the 30 coloring pages with Courtney Cerruti, Lisa Congdon, and Pam Garrison. They all contributed coloring pages, but basically Courtney Cerruti is the host for all 4 segments of this program. So this one is part 2, it's the finale. The last 2 weeks of it. First we did coloring pages with colored pencils and then marker pens, gel pens, neon pens, lots of fun stuff. And then this last part was more working with watercolor pencils, watercolors, wax resist, maybe using all the mediums at once now that you have them, you know, kind of full palette. So we're just here to talk about our experience and whether or not I guess it was worthwhile just spending the time. So
I had a lot more fun with part 2 than I did with part 1. I think that's also because like I'm on a watercolor kick after we did watercolor lettering, that this was so much fun. And I want to do all of my coloring pages with watercolor now, because that was such a satisfying process. And I struggled a little bit with the watercolor pencils at first, and then I remembered when we were talking about this program, this specific challenge beforehand, Lucy, you mentioned that your kids would dip their watercolor pencils in water and then color with them. I was doing it the hard way by just coloring and then using water and a paintbrush. Like that was
Isn't that it's very satisfying to do it.
So satisfying.
Like a really nice feel. Yeah.
I could tell the difference in, so like this one and this one I colored and then used the pencil, but like I was getting such better color definition when I was using them wet, and like the colors were so much more vibrant, and I don't know, it was just way more fun. It wasn't getting as muddy as it was when I was using a paintbrush with water.
They're a little bit they're easier to work with that way too, like to color with them dry. I also find that they dull very quickly. Like I was constantly sharpening those.
Sharpening and sharpening. Some of mine now are like this big.
The only downside to using them with like dipping in water is my pencils, the wood was not the greatest quality wood. So like trying to sharpen them after I had put them in water was a little rough. But you did actually, the lead sharpened better when the pencils were wet. Mine were so brittle that every time I would try to sharpen them, it would break the lead on the inside and then the lead would fall out and I'd have to sharpen it again. So having the water in it almost made it stick together a little bit more. But that was the quality of the pencils that I had. So
I liked with the watercolor pencils, something I had never done before that Courtney Cerruti did was, putting the color down with the dry pencil and then using a Q-tip to spread the color. I thought that was really, that for me, that was a very more satisfying than the paintbrush, like spreading the color, using a paintbrush after on the dry pencil, I found to be kind of finicky. But like the same one you just showed, I did this one with the Q-tip.
Show mine too.
Yeah, and it was
oh, those are pretty.
Yeah,
it was fun to do this one, but that didn't work as well with every page. Like if you had more details or
Yeah. Did you do any of the one, like another one I did with the pencils? Was this the bookcase one? I don't know. I don't really like it that much overall. It's okay, but yeah, there was a lot of detail, and I think I ended up. No, I didn't use pens on this one. I think I was tempted to. I did go and use some pens on this, like some of the, I don't know if it shows up very well. Yeah, you can kind of see how it's shiny
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
maybe I'll go back and do that.
Really cool.
I used some of those gold, like the jelly pens from the week before. So
I might go back and do that. I didn't connect as well with the watercolor pencil pages, which is weird because one of them was cats.
I know. I'm still gonna do that one.
The one with all the cats stacked up.
Yeah, that one.
I'm still gonna.
A lot of it, but then I got tired. My hand, I got tired.
I think because I was initially having so much trouble with the watercolor pencils and they were so brittle, and like I did this one where I was working more with like color mixing and trying to figure out like
I did that one.
How to do shading and color mixing with the watercolor pencils like that. I got really frustrated with that, so I stopped. And then did the flower one on the very last day of that week because I had been so frustrated throughout the week of like I don't really want to do this anymore. I'll wait till next week, and the watercolor that I'll connect with more. But now that I've kind of got like the water dipping in water thing, I do think that I will go back and do more of them from that week because now I have a little bit better of a handle on the technique. But I got frustrated really quickly with that one.
Yeah, well, that page, like the one you just showed, I worked on that one, blending some of the watercolor pencils. But then I think about that with marker. But there's so many small spaces that.
Yeah, I stopped that one because there was so much detail, and that detail frustrates me a lot.
So. You get overwhelmed in the decision making of it. It's funny. It's like it's supposed to just color and have fun with it, but then especially working with so many different materials, it's like, okay, especially with the watercolors using wax. So it's like, do I want to block off an area? Do I want to paint it and then use the wax resist to keep it that color? It's like so many plans and things, and
yeah, and I had a lot of trouble with the planning process of picking colors because my watercolor pencils was only a set of 24, and with watercolor paints, and I always buy the biggest set, so like I have a 126 set of Crayola crayons, and like I like having a variety of colors. That was harder for me because it was limiting the number of colors that I had, so I got to the point where it's like I can't think up any more color combinations.
I know it does start to happen. I was working on this one, and now this one I also used crayons, like some of it's crayon, some of it's watercolor pencil and watercolor to work with the resist, like this flower and some of the stems on the quilt. I used crayon, so I just used different colored crayons to create the wax resist, which was kind of fun.
That's what I did too. So I did like the lighter lines are crayon, and then
I love the dog thing in your couch.
That's the couch is all watercolor, and then the blue is.
That's so pretty.
Nope, the light pink lines. The light pink lines is crayon, and then some of the lighter yellow in there is crayon, and then the squiggly lines is crayon, and then I just watercolored over top.
What an idea.
That's so
cool. I was having a lot of fun mixing the crayon and watercolor. I didn't have a clear wax crayon like she recommends. So I was like, I can do exactly the same thing with colored wax, and it did turn out really spectacular. And the other one that I did was this one with the fruit bowl. So I was having so much fun with her dog, and like I colored him in different colors. I love the ones with Charlie. It's so cute. But the fruit was like, this is like watercolor lettering with the fruit. So that was the watercolor and crayon combo was way more fun for me and way more satisfying because again, I'm on a watercolor kick. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I can say overall this was a really great experience because like I was saying, I never make time for coloring, and now I feel like this is something I can go to and just all the options to just not color with crayons, or even
I never would have used watercolor on a coloring page before, and now I just think you can get such a different range of colors, and combining it with like either colored pencils for resist or crayons or
and it's this challenge especially for some reason helped me think more in terms of multimedia than a lot of the other challenges that we've done and the other projects that we've done of thinking, well, what can I mix together to get a different effect, and how will things interact with one another? I'm not really sure why this one was the one that made me more mixed media focused, but maybe it's the buildup of the ones that we've done.
I think it's the setup, the way the program is designed. Mm-hmm. I think she's very conscious and very helpful about like, start here, now let's layer this. And then you do the next segment. And she's like, all right, we're using a different medium, but what if you went back to that first time and grabbed some of that glitter or, you know, so she is, the building blocks are put in place in a really nice way, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
I think doing all 4 in a row was very helpful.
And also having like a week to spend on that technique with that medium, basically, instead of like some of the other ones we've done where it's like you're hopping from day to day to like another thing. So like this was nice to just kind of be like, I'm gonna focus on doing these. And then it was good too to have it like be, okay, it's the next week, you got to move on, you know? So.
Yeah. I didn't feel as much pressure with this one because you had a week to work on it. Mm-hmm. It felt a lot more relaxed to me, and I didn't have to push myself as much to finish something every day. I'm a pretty slow colorer, and I like to take my time with it. That being said, with the watercolor, it was really fun to just be able to slap colors down and then be done with it. That was very satisfying to kind of speed up my process and just be a little messy with it, and to teach myself that it's okay to just be an absolute mess with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the watercolors encourages you have to go outside the lines sometimes, and that was kind of freeing.
Well, you get a better effect, I think, with watercolors when you go outside the lines, especially like with the coloring pages that I was doing. I liked the effect more when I colored outside of the lines.
Yeah, I did too.
Well, I was just going to say too, it's like very freeing, but then you can always go back through and add detail with a pen later or something too, if you want to like clean up areas. So but yeah, I agree with you too. Like it's got me more of like a mixed media mind. That's why when I started looking at what our next things could be, there was one about like a daily doodle, and it's using these same materials, but it's like now I feel like I know how to work with them, like as a grouping instead of separate. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway. So cool. So highly recommended. You could just watch one of the classes. There's 4 of them in the series, or just do it, as we did, kind of one after the other, whatever you want to dip into there. But highly recommend this.
Highly recommend.
I would also mention that I do think like there's a meditative factor to coloring in general, and I think right now it's nice to have that little bit of like, I'm focusing on something, but it's also really calming me down. So.
It was very much a nice 15-20 minute escape every day of I'm just gonna focus on this, and I don't know, the color really helped me a lot because we are starting to get more towards grayer, more wintry, colder days, and color helps me get through winter a lot. I wear more color, and I'm like around more color, so having that as part of this challenge was really, really therapeutic for me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like I'm gonna hang Charlie and his quilt in my like up on my wall because I just like the color. It was so fun to do the colors. Yeah,
it was.
They do. I'm gonna make him more neon. This one I'm gonna do the watercolor with my neon watercolors.
Oh, fun!
And I was gonna hang him. In my office. So.
I guess I may as well show mine that I did. I really was pleased with this. I think I just this drawing overall, and just I loved doing that pillow. It was really
fun. I know it was really
But I feel like they like you were saying, like they can take a lot of time. So it's like it's like I'm really working on a piece. Like I'm like inspired to go find other coloring pages that like or something that I feel like it's a design I really like or a drawing I want to spend time coloring in, for myself.
Yes.
It's a totally different thing than I've ever done. So
it really is. And I was like, well, now I want every coloring book that I have to be watercolor.
Yeah.
So that, I can have all of the watercolor all the time. For the same reason. I want to be able to hang them.
Yeah, they don't really print watercolor like on watercolor paper. So we had the fortune of having access to a printer, a laser jet printer, where we could get them printed on the watercolor paper, or she said you could use cardstock as well, but
you can. Yeah. Did either of you find that the ink, the laser jet was acting more as a resist.
Oh yeah, that was something. That was cool.
I didn't realize it was going to do that.
Yeah, because
the first time I realized, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
that was really cool. I was not expecting that, and that was a very fun thing to realize.
You know what I was just reminded of when you were saying you were going to do all your coloring, like what with watercolor, like they created books for coloring pages for watercolor. Did you ever have paint with water books when you guys were little?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
It reminded me of that a little bit when I would go with a watercolor pencil, do everything dry, and then put water on later. So paint with water, it was like the ink was put on the page for you, but it was just put in little dots. So all you needed was water, and you just painted it. And I don't know, I used to love it, but it wasn't good quality paper. It would get really wet and but I did have a nostalgic moment when I was like, I'm creating my own paint with water page.
I completely forgot about those. They came with the terrible nylon brushes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was just like the nylon brushes from the 90s that are flat topped on a plastic handle and like absolutely impossible to control. No, I loved those books, but mine never came out because I always used too much water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just a little blast from the past.
It is a fun nostalgia. I like that a lot.
I do want better watercolor brushes now, though, too, because the ones I have are pretty they're kind of like the all craft paintbrush. They're not specific to watercolor, and some of them were kind of too floppy. Like just didn't always behave. So I'm inspired now. I have an excuse to buy new things.
Yeah.
So anyways, all right. Well, excellent. Thank you both for joining me with this challenge. I think we all enjoyed it.
Yes. And thank you everybody for joining us for this video. We hope you had fun, and we hope you try out some classes on Creativebug, if not this one. Remember, it is free with your library card. You just have to create an account on their website. Our next challenge is going to be 30 Days of Embroidery with Rebecca Ringquist. So we will be doing a sewing challenge next month, which I'm super geeked about because embroidery is kind of my thing.
Yeah. I've never done a sampler either. Like I would always try. I never get
a lot of excited samplers. Yeah, I'm excited to do this. So
I am too.
And yes, until we see you guys for our halfway check-in for the embroidery video, stay safe, stay healthy, and don't forget to love each other. Bye, everybody.